So good morning everybody. As I have said yesterday, it's a very good opportunity for us to be able to gather here again with our body, mind all intact. Of course everybody has grown a bit older, 1 year older, and has grayer and some more wrinkles. However, still we gathered here with body and mind relatively intact, and everybody is very eager to once again to listen to the teaching of the Dharma. And as I already said last night, the fact that we can come together annually here and to spend some time together in our studies of the Dharma and in our reflection, contemplation on the meaning of Dharma, this is a very great opportunity given to us by no other than our precious Master, Venerable Gueshe Rinpoche. This kind of Dharma activity which the precious Master has initiated, started here in this part of the world, actually has become very important. That way he laid a very important foundation for the teaching of the Buddha to authentic way, teaching of Buddha to flourish for the sake of countless sentient beings. And this has, since the founding of this very center, such activities have started, and it has produced all these years very wonderful results. Just organizing this course alone has benefited so many people. Some have even already departed from this world by carrying with them those beneficial results, those positive potentiality which they could gather in their own continuum through such encounters. And many are still continuing in their present life still, thoroughly engaging themselves, deepening their understanding, deepening their reflection, their meditation, their contemplation, and that way gaining deeper and deeper, better and better understanding of the Dharma. And all that is a result of the precious activity of the Master. Because the precious Master's activity, everything from the beginning of his life, his own that very natural, inborn, deep quest of the Dharma from very young age, then very engaging himself only out of one's own aspiration without being pushed by anyone, even facing difficulties to enter into the way of Dharma. All these, there's no need to go into detail. You can read his biography now available in various languages. So therefore, there one sees very well. So that way he initiated his own search of the Dharma and search of the qualified precious guide, precious masters, whom he actually met, and some extraordinary, real great masters he met, and under their kindness and their spiritual guidance, then he grew up to be finally a great erudite, both in terms of every aspect of the Dharma, in the philosophical, as well in the Sutra aspect, in the Tantra aspect, in the practice of meditation and all aspects of Dharma, fully mastering them. That way become not only just named by giving title according to the tradition, but which he has obtained in a natural way through the appreciation of his masters as well as countless disciples who had the chance to meet him and to listen to his teachings. Finally, then everyone recognized him in the very most pure and in a natural way as precious Master, Gueshe Rinpoche. Gueshe Rinpoche. Gueshe is also a title in Tibetan monastic system, which of course he has fully accomplished them, but not only as a title, but also Gueshe in its real sense, which means Kalyana Mitra, which means a wholesome friend or wholesome guide. That is what he has become, not as a title given by anyone, but the natural kind of recognition on part of countless accounts of disciples, seeing real precious qualities. Therefore, they naturally called Rinpoche, which means precious, Ratna in Sanskrit, so that means precious. So Gueshe Rinpoche, that means precious, wholesome friend or precious spiritual guide. That's what he has become. Everything, as I said before, is all something which is connected purely with the Dharma. In short, he has, through his search and through his learning, contemplation, meditation and such practices, he has finally become fully an embodiment of compassion, loving kindness, wisdom and skillfulness. He not only is very much praised and appreciated by his own great masters as well as other great masters, and at the same time and has become a true refuge and guide for countless disciples. As a result, then also after coming to India, then he was also selected as one of the two new philosophical assistants, or like Dharma consultants or whatever one may call, but philosophical assistant to His Holiness Dalai Lama at the beginning of 60s, and that way he had to live in vicinity of His Holiness. So that way he lived in Ramsala, where lived also his the root guru, that is Trijang, Chang, who was also one of the teachers of His Holiness, and he spent also a lot of time in very intensive meditations. So around this time, and at the same time serving His Holiness as his philosophical partner or assistant, and around this time people start coming from the West to India for search of spiritual ways, tradition, some searching for some fantastic experience, taking some substance, and others very seriously seeking for some guru, spiritual guide and so on. Mixed motivations and purposes. But I must say those times were very different. There's something very, everybody peace-loving. Everybody searching peace and peace and love is different. That part, that aspect has also changed a lot. But anyway, a lot of peace-loving people coming from the West to the East. And also among them, some really very serious also people who was really searching for some spiritual guidance or whatsoever. And some of them went straight to His Holiness Dalai Lama to ask for guidance, teachings and so on, which he could not fulfill due to his many other duties. So therefore, His Holiness asked our precious master to teach some of them, early ones, and one early one's right here, and also some others, also some coming to Switzerland. We had some kind of strong Swiss karmic connection right at the beginning. The very first student, the Dharma student of Gueshe Rinpoche was a Swiss. Anyway, and also the first Westerner who was invited Gueshe Rinpoche to the West was also a Swiss lady. So there we have some kind of Swiss connection, maybe some kind of karmic whatever. But anyway, there were some people like that, and who earnestly thought there are the spiritual guidance, teachings from Gueshe Rinpoche which he gave. This was also the wish of His Holiness, and also his root guru Trijang, Chang, right from the very beginning supported such activity and encouraged Gueshe Rinpoche to continue to do so, because it was quite at the beginning stage. Many Tibetan lamas of that time were not really sure if these Western people coming from all kinds of different colors of hair coming to them and asking for spiritual help, they really did not know very well what is their real, their quest, is that really sincere or just something very superficial, something just pure curiosity. There were, many are still not sure about. So therefore, there are some other teachers were in those days were reluctant also to give teachings. However, Gueshe Rinpoche gave such guidance to those people. And so they were really very, very fascinated by his teachings. And how they are fascinated, you can ask also. You can ask Marie Perez. She was one of them who was fascinated. Okay. So anyway, and her husband actually did not come to see teaching. They came on a tour, but not one of those peace-loving ones also. They were peace-loving people surely, but not special peace lover. They came a student, very intelligent, fresh mind, coming in a Dorje.
No, 4L.
4L. Anyway, it's a Renault. It's a kind of Renault.
Renault, it is
yes, Renault. Came and their Renault broke down in Pakistan. So then they had to take some other route, and so they caught that train which goes to India and which stops in Pathankot. That is a special place, special train station. That is the train station before. Everybody who need to go to Dharamsala, the place of His Holiness, had to stop in this junction, in this station. So that's how they end up. That's how, the karma works in this way. So somehow this Renault broke down, even though it's a good quality because it made all the way up to Pakistan, to Afghanistan, Iran, all those places. There were no wars at that time, fortunately, but the road was still very, very, surely very, very rough. Anyway, it made up to that place, then it broke down, so they had to take train, and so they ended up in Pathankot, and where they met some other people who are traveling to Dharamsala, so they also did something like that.
Actually, we intended to go to Kashmir from
wanted to go to Kashmir.
And then we just saw the bus going to Dharamsala with this Dharamsala sign on the bus. Then we remembered that was the place where the Dalai Lama was living. Then we decided to go to Dharamsala, and I have never been to Kashmir.
So that's how it is. So they were going to a good holiday in Kashmir. Kashmir was, and at that time, very peaceful and really such a beautiful place. And but then it changed. The bus going to other direction actually took them for their real destiny. End up in McLeodganj, which used to be such a small village. But I must say, it used to be very, very peaceful, really. It has changed also a lot now. There they met the first Swiss student of Gueshe Rinpoche. So they are the second one. The first one was they met at that time very few Westerners in this small village. So when if some new ones come, surely they are noticed. They meet. They are happy to meet each other and talk. And that way they met the Swiss guy, and then who was already coming to sent by His Holiness to Gueshe Rinpoche, coming for some teachings, some private lessons. So finally, that way something awoke in them also. So finally also met Gueshe Rinpoche, came to see Gueshe Rinpoche, and they came, met Gueshe Rinpoche, and heard him once, and that is the end of this story. And one story and the beginning of another story. So big change has taken place. They were actually supposed to leave in a few days, but then it ended up staying, a few months, even visa expired, but then I was staying in a hidden way for some more time.
Actually, at that time, Westerners were not allowed to stay in Dharamsala.
Yes.
So that's why we
were hiding.
We hided in your place.
Yeah, it was difficult at that time for foreigners to get visas and so on, so they still stayed in a hidden state and they regularly received the teaching, which you can get in French. It's only in French. The oral transmission of Buddhism Tibetan.
Yes.
Yeah, it is that teaching which they have received at that time up in Dharamsala, and with my totally broken translation, English translation. So in spite of such a poor quality translation, it's just because of the blessing of the Master and the skillfulness of the way of teaching of the Master, and also the disciples' intelligence. Somehow it still worked, even though the translation is very poor quality. But anyhow, that the teaching of the precious Master was so transforming, so moving, so very deeply penetrating, transforming their mind. So that's how one after another. Then from that on, then the stream of people coming from the West and from everywhere is not only West. Also, some people came from the East, from Japan, etc. Then never stopped. Already in India, back in since 1968 on until we came to Europe, the stream of followers never stopped. And Master was also fulfilling the wishes of many disciples, Tibetan disciples, especially many meditators, many lamas who are really good meditators and good practitioners who live around on the mountains around Dharamsala, and who are also seeking his teaching, and plus all these new teaching students coming from the West. So that way which kept the precious Master very busy in fulfilling their wishes. So while he was mainly in a meditational retreat, where he used to live in a small hut, which he speaks about in the book, the Song of the Profound View. There he was spending many hours in meditation, at the same time taking care of all those people. Because, as I said before, even though many other people are reluctant about teaching foreigners, but Gueshe Rinpoche was, through his wisdom, he really saw potentiality, that great positive potentiality, really Dharma potentialities that are growing in the continuum in the mind of those people, and also their sincereness, and that made Gueshe Rinpoche to continue to teach. And also it is the wish of his root guru, Trijang, who encouraged him always. So I'm sorry, that's a little bit long. I think most of you don't understood, so you can make a little summary of it. Can I disclose some more secrets? When they first came, then there was not even proper lodging, so they put up in some kind of tent. And then every morning they were doing judo. They were doing judo.
François was teaching all the kids there.
Yes, and they did the judo exercise, and they did very well. I was very fascinated. And every morning, coming out on the meadow and doing some falling down, and purposely falling. First, I was wondering why they are falling down. But then they were learning this special way to fall down. So they were doing many times this falling down and falling down. But it's very interesting. Anyway, there are many details like that. Then they returned back to France, they went to Australia, everywhere, and then finally back to France. And next time they much better equipped. They came Volkswagen bus, equipped with fridge and everything inside, and so we can taste also ourselves. These wonderful, good tasting French cheese and a lot of things. And when they came, it's a feast for us. So that when they came next time in a small Volkswagen bus. So there are still many details like that. That maybe
yes.
if you someday finish your
yes.
they will write a book.
Yes.
Ask them to write a book, and this will be very interesting. But anyway, this was one period, and also this is worth mentioning. So today there are many new people. So around the same time came also 3 young guys from students, really fresh, intelligent students from Cambridge University, and they were very interested in Buddhism, and Gueshe Rinpoche taught them as well. And that time, even in Cambridge University, apart from some very old classic books translated from Sanskrit or something like that, some sutras, apart from that, at that time there wasn't any other books that the people can just read which shows directly about the teaching of Buddhism. Very, very rare. So they came to the teaching of Gueshe Rinpoche and they have taken the notes very precise. They went back and they made the first kind of, one can say, like a Lamrim book. It's not called Lamrim, but it's called Graduated Path to the Enlightenment. A small booklet like that, which is made by the students themselves. And it was kind of insight they shared among the students who are interested in Buddhism between themselves. This kind of house production, a little booklet like that, which is called Graduated Path to the Enlightenment. It has become very well known among the students, and everybody, even those who are coming from England and so on, had this little book, Graduated Path to the Enlightenment, which is made out of the teaching Gueshe Rinpoche, which these first Cambridge students have written. These are very important ones because there were hardly any other books, and so that's also part of the story. And then came another Swiss person, that is Madame Ansermet, who came, who was already very intelligent and herself since long time engaged in spiritual search. She also studied Hinduism, she knew about Buddhism as well. And finally she went to His Holiness, asked for guidance, and His Holiness sent her also to our master. So that way we had to take care of her as well. So she stayed, and she came many times, returned many times. She even became nun, took ordination from His Holiness. And then she returned to Switzerland. She is from this part, she's from Roll, from the same canton. And she then created a little group of her friends, and still some of our here, they're right here. Maggie is still here. She has many good friends. She's herself quite well known because her father was a very famous, maybe the most famous Swiss music conductor, Ernest Ansermet. Therefore she knows a lot of people. And then she created this group of friends of Dharma, and then she herself was so benefited, so impressed by the teaching of Gueshe Rinpoche. So therefore, and the third time she came, she asked His Holiness if she could invite Gueshe Rinpoche to the West for a teaching tour. So which, at the request of His Holiness and also encouragement by our root guru, Trijang Rinpoche, Gueshe Rinpoche accepted. So we came in 74, and first to Europe, and he gave, organized by Madame Ansermet in her place in Roll, he gave this very intensive meditation course, out of which came this book, Treasury of Dharma. It's a wonderful book. Since then it has become really like the gate opener for really sincere seekers of the Dharma, because Gueshe Rinpoche gave that meditation course, that teaching, so complete. It is actually teaching, it is a Lamrim complete However, he didn't teach it in the traditional, in the Lamrim way. He taught it. Chirama's teachings are mostly taught, through, of course, based on all these important, authentic sources. But then what he taught is always outcome of his own direct experience. So thus it becomes particularly clear and comprehensive. That's where he taught that important teaching, out of which came this book, now in many, many, many languages translated, in Romanian, in Finnish, and all languages, of course in French, German, and English, Treasury of Dharma, which he taught at that time. That was really a big opening of the gate of the Dharma in this part of the world. And then he also traveled. He was invited also to France, Italy, Germany, and so everywhere he gave teachings. And many people had the chance to listen to him. Everybody was very impressed. Then we returned. And then in between, those people who saw him and who received teaching from him, as well as the Tibetan community who live in Switzerland, also met with Gueshe Rinpoche, received also teachings from him, who were equally very impressed. So all together, Tibetans and Westerners, all together requested His Holiness to send our precious Master back, if possible, in a long-term base, as the spiritual guide and really propagator of the teaching of Dharma in this part of the world. So such request came, and then finally His Holiness again requested Gueshe Rinpoche to return to Switzerland on more on long-term basis or permanent basis. And his root guru encouraged him very much, because Gueshe Rinpoche had not any special, he was not that keen on going to the West and living a long time, because first of all, he is always in his retreat. Whenever he had time, he always stayed in a retreat in the mountain of Dharamsala, which was very peaceful, most conducive for him. And also, his root guru, Chang, was already very aged. He was already 80, 70, and something 78 or something like that. He was already quite old. So therefore, he wanted to be always near him. He saw his master at least twice a month, or maybe even weekly when he was there. And so he didn't have wish to go very far away. But his guru has encouraged him to go. He said, you go to the West and teach there, it will benefit. It was really very prophetic advice he gave, that this will bring a lot of benefit for countless beings, countless people who are seeking something pure and authentic teachings and guidance, and this will contribute also a lot for flourishing of the teaching of Buddha in the world. And therefore your going to West is will be very beneficial. You don't worry about me, I will still live long, and if you wish, you can always, every year you can come back to visit me, etc. And he promised that I will live long and so on. So finally, that made Gueshe finally to make a decision to return for a long-term base. So following year, 1975, then we came for long-term base to Switzerland. And that time this center didn't exist, but there exists already the little institute, so-called Tibet Institute, near Winterthur, where there are already few Tibetan monks living there, a kind of temple there also. So we came first there. And then, since that place is very limited for lodging, bigger Sangha community, or even for people who come there to study from Gueshe Rinpoche, all the accommodation facilities are very limited. There was hardly anything, really. So finally, with again Madame Ansermet and all our friends in this part of Switzerland, finally then looked around and finally found this place, few places out of which Gueshe Rinpoche had chosen this one as the future center in 1977. Then he opened this center, and now we are celebrating 40th anniversary this year. So that's how, and then he lived here permanently, and then initiated all these Dharma activities, founding a real authentic Sangha community with Vinaya traditions, accurate Vinaya traditions, as well as then all the philosophical studies, as well as then all the teaching programs and meditation programs like this course, etc. So the Dharma activities multiplied, and that way he opened a very great important door of Dharma in this part of the world. And at that time there were very few others. There was another Tibetan Lama who also equally very active and who also contributed much for the flourishing of teaching of Tibetan Buddhism in this part of the world. That is Venerable Gonsar Rinpoche, who was also a great master of Gueshe tradition, who even though was very old, but also been very active in founding Dharma centers. Thanks to him, there are many centers in France. And he also managed to invite His Holiness the Karmapa, the 16th. And thanks to him also, the Gueshe tradition also flourished much in Europe as well as in America and all these places. That was the second Tibetan master.